Oh yeah, real fights are just they're messy and embarrassing.
Hi there, this is Mr. Green, and I'm at Ad Astra here in Toronto, and I am about to talk to a fantastic novelist who I am a big fan of, and that is the wonderful Mr. Jim Butcher. How you doing, Jim?
Hey, how you doing?
Good, thanks. So, like I said, you're a novelist. Obviously, you've done a lot of things, but I was just curious. Like, before we get into that stuff, this is more serious questions. Like, are you watching a lot of TV right now, or do you get to watch TV?
I watch some TV.
You watch some TV?
Yeah.
Anything in particular you like?
I need to get caught up in this season of Justified. I like Justified. I've been watching Castle, because you got to watch Castle.
Right.
The Avengers animated TV series.
Oh yeah, cool.
Because I got to watch that.
Yeah.
Yeah, they actually dig into the whole Marvel universe. They have all the goofy bad guys from the '70s showing up. It's amazing. I love it. Those are the main shows I'm watching right now.
Yeah.
And then plus old movies whenever I'm writing.
Right, right.
So.
You don't watch Game of Thrones then?
Oh, Game of Thrones, of course, Game of Thrones. It's not even optional.
What did you think of have you seen
the season premiere?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was too short. It needed to keep going.
Yeah.
I was not ready for it to be over when it was over.
Excellent. No, I talk a lot about a Game of Thrones because, well, Tyrion's my boy.
Oh, yeah. He is the man.
Yeah.
He is. He's the star of that show. Don't let anybody tell you any different.
Yeah. No, it's something else. It's one of those things I just love. But actually, I was curious about that, though, like, because you're watching so many cool things, and even something like Game of Thrones, it doesn't necessarily stay in the same realms as some of your work, but do you ever worry about that as an artist, like, that you might be watching something and you're picking something up that you throw in, or?
It's almost every time I think I've done something really cool and original and neat, I'll go back and find out later, no, I stole it from something that I saw a long time ago. Now I just don't worry about it.
Now you just do it and just...
I just do it, and if it seems right, and then if I catch myself at it, I'll go back in and change it around.
Right.
Unless it's really, really cool, in which case I'll keep it.
Yeah.
I think there's the old saying, I think it's a Mark Twain proverb that says, good writers borrow from others, and great ones steal outright, and I'm a big believer in that. So
well, that's cool. Yeah, because you're obviously your novels are world building, and they're vast, and they span great amounts of territory, right? I always think about that as, because I'm not a writer, like yourself, so I always think of like how challenging that can be, because I know a lot of writers don't take fanfic or ideas of the characters that you've built and stuff like that you stay away from that stuff because you don't want it to legal reasons. But
right.
I was just curious about the other stuff because it's always one of those things. I'm like, I'm sitting down and I'm watching Supernatural, and I was like, that's really cool. I should write something. Nah, I can't do that. That'd be, I don't want to borrow their territory.
Oh no! If they come up with something good, and I see it and love it, it's like, yeah, I'm gonna have to steal that and slap a fresh coat of paint on it before I resell it.
Yeah. Now, obviously recently you announced that you're working on the Cinder Spires, which is a new series of novels from you. It's going to be a trilogy, if I'm correct.
I've sold 3 books so far. Depending on how they go, we could do a trilogy. We could do more books than that.
Right. Okay.
So I mean, if it's something that has a good audience and takes off, and I've got no objection to writing 6, 9, 12 books out of it. So.
See, that's what somebody who placates the fans when they get into it. That's cool. I like that. You're at least open to these.
Yeah, definitely. If you're, the fans are my patrons.
Right.
You don't keep your patron happy, you don't get to keep being an artist, and that's how it works.
Right. What can you tell us about it? Because I know it's still, like, you're still working on it. Obviously, it's just starting.
We're living in a world where everybody lives inside these enormous, several miles high spires that are spread out across the world, and all contact and communication and shipping that happens between spires happens by airship. The particular characters are from, in this story, are from Spire Albion. There's a war starting up with a neighboring spire, and the events of the story are centered around this conflict and the sort of the prequel to the actual war getting underway. So we've got these young characters who are getting together, and we've got a disgraced Navy captain who is now working in his own ship and just doesn't give a damn about the Navy anymore or the Spire. We've got the girl who her big asset is that she's close friends with the cat and can talk to the cat, and the cats talk,
Nice.
And well, they speak cat. They don't speak human, because why would they learn to speak human? They understand human, except when they don't. But generally speaking, though, the cats they're arrogant and horrible little bullies, because they have opposable thumbs and matches. So you
Nice.
you have to pay attention to the cats around, and they really feel that humanity owes them.
Kind of sounds like Mister almost.
Well, it's like every cat ever. It's just it's like every cat ever. These just happen to be able to happen to have developed their own verbal language, and
Nice.
one of the characters has learned to speak it. So she's very unique. She's like a talking dog. They're very amazed with her. But also the cats are really intensely awesome intelligence assets. Within the spire itself. These spires are enormous. And spread out over miles and miles in many levels, and the local lord is basically recruiting a special missions team, and that's what this first book is about, is getting that team together and putting them in their first mission. Technology is all based around this odd crystal technology and steam power,
Cool.
with some Frankensteinian electrical stuff thrown in. There are a couple of one of the characters is more or less a wizard, only they're called etherealists. They do all their work with the crystals, and can do some fairly amazing things. And they're all nuts, every single one of them. It's kind of a prerequisite that you
Right.
can't do it if you're not crazy. And
Right.
really, it's the etherealists that seem normal that are the ones you have to look out for. Those are the ones who are completely dangerous. The ones that are wacky and walking into walls. Like, okay, he's an etherealist, whatever. The one that's like going to invite you to high tea,
Right.
that's the one to watch out for.
You had me totally sold at talking cats. Like that was.
Talking cats, that's gotten everybody.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, because obviously in the Dresden Files, you have two major characters, if you will, that are animals. They don't talk, sort
Right.
of. And Mister being one of them, and Mister sounds like, that's why I brought him up. He sounds so much like those cats.
well, yeah, Mister's just a cat. I mean, and that's
Yeah.
that's his superpower.
Yeah.
He needs no further superpower than that. He is a cat. Mouse actually does have superpowers, but regards Mister as his senior in the household, and Mouse doesn't talk because Mouse thinks talking gets in the way of the important things. So.
Yeah, no, I when I started reading the Dresden Files, I have to admit, I guess I'm like a lot of would be your newer type fans. I came in late to the game.
Right.
My first one was Turncoat,
Okay.
so really late.
Right.
And I remember when I was reading it, and Mouse and Mister are there, and they're brought in. I was like, these are great characters. And then when I went back and started from the beginning and went
Right.
forward, I was just like, every book, it's like, okay, so Mister right off the top, great. I was like, where's Mouse?
Yeah,
What is going on here?
6 books in, he
Yeah.
shows up. Yeah.
But a great entrance though,
Right.
because really, flying monkey poop.
Flaming flying monkey.
That's right.
Yeah.
There's no better way to introduce some characters. And that's the thing. One of the things I always found interesting about the stories is how much you treat them like they are animals. Obviously, Mouse, as you said, he's got a little bit of a different origin, but you still treat them as animals. They still act like animals, and you see the reactions, like Harry, whether it's Murphy or any of the other characters, how they go with that. It really brings humanity to the story. I find like those little moments, those quiet moments where like Harry gives him Mouse a little rough of the ears kind of thing.
Right.
Kind of brings you right into it. That's great. Like, is that something that when you were working on that, you really wanted to have that to help humanize all the characters?
Well, I wanted Harry to have a cat because it just seemed right for a wizard to have a cat. As far as Mouse goes, Mouse got introduced to the story not too long after we got a puppy for our son.
Right.
And I had forgotten how awesome it was to have a dog in the house and in the family,
Right.
because we hadn't had one for years and years, not since I lived with my parents. And so it's like, okay, at this point I've got to get... And Mouse is basically the dog that my dog thinks he is. My dog's actually about this big, but that's the dog he thinks he is. I mean, and he is completely confident of it, and I haven't had the heart to tell him, dude, you're a Bichon Frise. It's like, no, man, you're like a Caucasian Shepherd. You're huge. Don't worry about it. Because you feel huge, you are huge.
Yeah, that's actually interesting, because Mouse in the stories, as you write him, he's almost the reverse. Like, he can be when there's something going on to Harry or anything else, but like you said, with his relationship with Mister, he's pretty much like the size of a mouse itself.
Yes. Yeah, well, he's mild. He's mild-mannered that way.
Yeah.
And Mister was there first, you know, and Mister got his bluff in early. That's the important thing.
Right.
With dogs and children, get your bluff in early.
Yeah.
Always. Because once they're big enough to mess with you, it's too late. You know.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Yeah.
It's it's an amazing series, and I'm curious though. Like let's talk about the star, right, Harry.
Okay.
Where did like Harry come from? Like what was, because I know that I believe you were in school at the time or near the end of school, and
yes.
you came up with the stories originally. Like what was it about that? Was it your love of D&D? You just
My writing teacher had been pressuring me for some time because I'd been writing nothing but swords and horses fantasies, and I'd written like 5 of them, and they were awful. And she'd been pressuring me for some time. Hey, you need to write something a little bit more like all these things you're always talking about when you're in class. Good storytelling examples that you bring up in class. And it was always Babylon 5, Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and the Anita Blake books, which were, I think, the first 3 books were out at that point. And and I told her no, because I'm not going to write that, because I write swords and horses fantasy. I write epic fantasy. That's what I write. And she kept after me on it semester after semester. And finally, one semester, I said, okay, you know what? I am just going to do this semester. I'm going to prove her wrong. I am going to be her good little writing monkey. I'm going to do every little thing she says. I'm going to fill out all the little worksheets, do all the writing stuff exactly like she tells me to, and because I had my degree in English literature with an emphasis in creative writing. I knew what I was doing, whereas she had merely written 40 novels.
What does she know?
Yeah, she'd merely gotten 40 novels published. So I decided to prove her wrong, and so that semester I did absolutely all of her stuff. I did just exactly what she told me to the entire time, just to show her. And I wrote Stormfront, the first book of the Dresden Files, which showed her.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and which was a good lesson for me, because it convinced me how bright I'm not, which is a very good lesson to learn when you're 25, 26-ish. It's about the right time for you to learn that lesson then. It's, maybe I don't know everything,
Yeah, it's a key point in everybody's life.
Yes.
And it's actually something that Harry goes through. When he first introduced, he's a bit cocky. He's a little bit out there.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you see obviously over the span of the books that he changes and he matures, and because the books are, I won't say 100% real time, but they're close to it. Like you usually encounter the publishing time.
They match up to more or less to the actual time that's gone by.
Yeah. Has Harry over that time, like obviously he's changed, but was the changes everything that you thought when you first started, or did you even think about that you're gonna go this long?
No, God, no. Well, I knew I was going to go that long because I wrote my teacher first told me, she first read the first 3 chapters and said, well, you did it. And I said, what? She says, you did it. This will sell. She says, I don't know if this will be the first thing you sell, but this is of saleable quality and somebody will pick it up.
Right.
And I was like, wow. And so she's like, so, plan for more. And she meant plan the rest of the book. And I thought she meant plan a series. So I wrote an outline for a 20-book series with a 3-book, with a big old capstone trilogy at the end of it.
Right.
Big old apocalyptic trilogy thing. And I brought that back the next week. And I'm like, will that be okay? And she's like, yeah, you know what? I think if you can sell a 20-book series with a big trilogy at the end, you should be doing all right.
Yeah.
Never telling me, hey, Wile E. Coyote, you've just run right off the edge of the cliff, because you're never going to sell a 20-book series to a publisher. I mean, this just isn't going to happen. And but she did not tell me that, and because I was too stupid to know it was never going to happen, I forgot to look down and just kept running. And so it looks like it's going to work out now.